welcome back to Premier League Today. Well, to chat Newcastle, Isha Acton, sports broadcaster and a Newcastle fan, joins us in the studio. Great to have you here with us. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
So Newcastle up to 14th now. What's the secret to this recent success?
Such a great turnaround. It's crazy to think our first win of the season was in December. Now with January, I'd say the January transfer window really facilitated this good run of form. There's no denying it. Also, I think hitting rock bottom in January and just sort of getting players on board who were aware of the challenge and were really prepared to just scrap it out and keep us safe. That's another thing. You know, we're 7 games unbeaten now, and before January, it felt like there was no hope at all. Now there's hope in abundance. I'm really pleased about it.
It's easy to focus on, you know, Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall, the new management team that came in as the genesis of this turnaround. But what is it exactly that they've changed that Newcastle are doing now that they weren't doing a few months ago?
Well, Ryan Fraser was actually interviewed on exactly what Eddie Howe has brought to Newcastle this week. It was really interesting to hear it from a player himself who's really benefited from these changes. So he just said that Eddie Howe has changed everything from the team spirit, the philosophy, just everything at Newcastle. And I think amongst all the improvements, it's interesting to see the training ground practices that he's introduced. So we saw from the very start there was a big focus on the intensity of training. So that's there. But in addition to that, he's provided these visual aids to inspire the players and create this sort of motivating environment for them. He hosts these weekly team building exercises, so he gets a player each week to just share their footballing journey with their teammates. So there's a lot going on there that he's introduced. It's all very new. I think it's really positive and really encouraging to see how these kind of practices have really, really improved the existing players, because if we look at the existing players, Joel Linton being one of them, even John Joe Shelvey, Joe Willock, Ryan Fraser himself, I think it's really nice to appreciate how these new introductions have helped the existing players, because they have played a big part in this good run of form. Yes, money was spent in January, but the existing players have really stepped up.
As we can see here, second in the form table as well. Just want to talk to you about those players that were brought in January. 5 new players, 85 million spent. How well would you say they've settled in quite a short period of time?
I think quite well. So with obviously Kieran Trippier, you know, he was injured, very unfortunate. But from what we've seen of him, he's really galvanised the team. His leadership qualities are really valuable, just organising our backline. We really needed a leader like that on the pitch. Then there's Chris Wood. He's looked very solid. He's provided a physical presence in our attack. Again, very much needed. Dan Burn, Matt Targett, they've really fixed that left-hand side of our defence, I feel. And then Bruno as well. In the few minutes we've seen from him, he looks like a really intelligent player, and I really like what I've seen from him so far as well.
Bruno Guimaraes, you mentioned him there. He was the one, I think, of all those signings that everyone else around the Premier League was really excited by. There were some other clubs that were interested in him. He's going to be a star for the future. As you said, we haven't seen too much of him. But of all of them, the players like Trippier, we kind of know what we're going to get from him. He's proven himself in the Premier League, and he's done that so far. Could he be a potential star for Newcastle in the next year or 2 years?
I think so. I hope so. I think given that this game at the weekend against Brighton, it's the first of 5 games in 16 days, I believe, for Newcastle. So it's a really congested period. And you know what they say, don't change a winning team, but Eddie Howe will be forced into some sort of rotation, and I feel that will lead to an increase in Bruno's playing time for sure, and we're definitely going to see more glimpses of him this month.
What about other relegation candidates, Isha? Let's talk about Leeds. Of course, they have this new manager now, Jesse March. How hard is it going to be to take over from Marcelo Bielsa? Can he keep them up?
I think it's really difficult with Leeds. They haven't kept a clean sheet since November, I believe. And we saw with Bielsa, he was really rigid and sort of stubborn in the system. And unfortunately, the system failed and they lost the spine of their squad due to injury. So March, you know, I'm sure he knows there's a big task at hand here. And okay, he hasn't got Premier League experience, but he is an RB graduate in a sense, and he worked really closely with Ralph Rangnick, and he's been influenced by his philosophy. So I think we can expect some tactical tactics-wise, I think we can expect maybe some transition-based attacking football, which would suit the attacking assets at Leeds, but it won't be easy for them. We've seen Leeds play with a lot of fight on a number of occasions, so I'm sure they're up for the challenge, but it's not going to be easy.
It's so funny, fans of teams down there at the bottom or towards the bottom of the table, we're always constantly looking at the bottom of the table, trying to pick 3 teams that are worse than us. It's the game that everyone plays. And if we look at the fixtures coming up for the bottom four, the current bottom four at the moment, it's hard really to see who's got the more difficult of the next few fixtures. Everton's the one we pick out. They've got Spurs, West Ham, Manchester United as well. In there they play Newcastle, which is in a crucial game. And the thing for Everton, compared to some of the other teams, they've got very little confidence and very little momentum, which is not looking good for Frank Lampard's side.
It's not. It's tricky with Everton because, like you say, I look at those 12 remaining games for them and I'd say only about 5 of them are actually winnable. But in the same breath, if you saw their performance against Man City, you know, VAR controversy aside, it was a very narrow victory. And I think they remained quite resilient. They were quite robust. And I just think given the quality that Everton have and compared to those surrounding teams and under Frank Lampard, I don't see them going down.
Well, let's put you on the spot then. Don't see Everton going down. Who's going down then? 3 teams.
You're not saying Newcastle anymore,
well, I'm absolutely not saying Newcastle. No, if you asked me in January, I would say yes. I think, okay, so Norwich and Watford, they've been really poor from the start of the season. Their campaigns have not gone to plan there. I definitely see those 2 going down. With Burnley, I think with their work rate, with their commitment and with their ability to produce draws, I think that will keep them safe. With Everton, like I say, with the quality and being under Frank Lampard, I think they'll be okay. I'll be very surprised if they go down. So for me, it kind of leaves Brentford or Leeds. I think with Brentford, it will come down to their next 2 fixtures. They are up against Norwich and then Burnley. So those are really defining fixtures for them. With Leeds, if March can make an immediate impact and deal with the limited resources he has with the injuries, perhaps he can keep him up. But if not, if he doesn't make that immediate impact, I think they'll be joining Watford and Norwich.
I'm very confident that Newcastle will stay up then.
Absolutely staying up.
Wow, how things change so quickly, right?
Things change very, very quickly.
Thank you so much for coming in. Great to see you. We'll see you again soon.
It's going to be so interesting, isn't it, the relegation battle this season? Let's go.